Talking with you, Ethan, because you absolutely have been on a journey with Jesus, and your life fits this. Your story is worth hearing. Your beginnings were that you were very much a part of Center Grove Church and very much part of the church community, and you did things there and had good mentors until you didn't. And so part of your story is worth telling about what happened.
So a big part of that was just as I got out of childhood and I got a little bit older, a part of me wanted to experience what the world had to offer. That was just that natural kind of gravitation of like doing things, getting a little more independence. And there was another part of it that was just wanting my own control. And I felt, even though there was good things happening at the church and there was good things happening that I noticed in relatives and my mom and other people that were living a godly life, I thought, but maybe I don't want that. Maybe I want to experience other things. So through that, and then through different losses and frustrations, you get angry with God. Those are the kind of things that, for me personally, kind of took me away from the church or took me away from God. I just didn't want them, at that point in my life. I started to notice that I didn't like where my life was. And, so I was out of high school and I was doing the teenage stuff and I thought I had it all figured out. I had my own control. That's what I was chasing, for so long. And there was a lot of nights where I would come home or, wherever I had been that night with friends or, going out and living the worldly life, and I would come home and I would feel extremely lonely. And I would just feel like empty in a way. And I really couldn't figure that out because I thought, I'm doing everything that I've been wanting to do, since I kind of lost that childhood innocence. And so I took notice to that and I wanted something better, different. And I think that was God trying to call me back. And then my mom died. And that was a pivotal moment for me because I could have took that either direction. And for a minute I was pretty mad. I thought, I'm just getting, I'm turning into an adult now, and where was my life going to go? And then my mom dies. So then it just stopped me in my tracks, and I wasn't sure what to do at that point. When something like that happens, it just for anybody, it throws you off.
Absolutely.
And instead of getting angry, what I attribute to God's grace, I took it as a chance to restart, to like, okay, God, I'm incredibly broken and I'm lost. And I already was kind of feeling that anyway. But then you throw the death of my mom, the person that probably cared for me and loved me more than anybody in the world. And I just asked God to get me through it. And I said, God, I'm sorry for my behavior. I almost felt like maybe I was getting punished in a way. I had very little understanding of who God was. So a part of me thought I was being punished. Maybe my lifestyle contributed to my mom's death. Like, hey, I'm going to get your attention. But for a while after my mom's death, I went back to Center Grove and I was living a godly life, or what I thought was a godly life, but I still, for quite a few years after that, I still wasn't ready. And I didn't want to give up that power, but I just found a way to make God comfortable for myself. Mm-hmm. So it was very surface level of what I thought I was experiencing through God. So I milked cows right down the road from Grandview, and I was milking with the Schlitzers. And Marvin Schlitzer, when I met him, I was 17, 16, and he was in his 70s at that point. And he just kind of, talk about God drawing you in. He just worked on me, a little bit every day. And I noticed, I respected him because of, where he was at in his life and what he did with his dairy farm. So though there was a level of respect there, but then the aspect of he was a godly man. And he shared Bible verses with me, sermons with me. And he just, he lovingly mentored me that was probably the first milestone, just having somebody in my life that pushed me to just go deeper and to, be accountable and think, why do you want to follow Jesus? And that actually brought me to Grandview because, I drove past Grandview every day to get to the farm. And one Sunday I thought, I'm going to stop in. I'm giving this God thing, I want to give it a real chance. And when I walked into Grandview, the band was, the music was wonderful. The sermon was excellent. And the people, Daryl Kiefer and his family, they just came over and put their arm around me and, hey, you're sitting with us. And I was like shaking. I'm like, this isn't anything like I've ever experienced. And so that initial, introduction to Grandview was just over the moon. It was great. So once I was in Grandview, then it just kind of snowballed from there, and then the passion kind of faded away for a little bit, and I kind of had to have another springboard moment. And that's the next springboard moment came for me when I quit milking cows. And so when from kind of the time of Marvin mentoring me and to the time where I quit milking, I did kind of fall back into that trap of chasing my own dreams, my own desires, and my own comforts. And I found that because I thought, well, I'm a good person because I'm providing for my family and, I'm making money and I'm working 15 hours a day. So the priority was in my work and in my family, and I just thought that was good enough. So when the cows got sold, and all of a sudden I was like, well, what I just thought was my purpose and my passion and my comfort, it's all gone. It just evaporated. And so that was my next milestone of, came back to Grandview. And I don't know what year it was, but I thought, I'm giving God everything because he took everything. I don't have anything left. Everything that I thought that I had or needed was gone. And so I said, God, it's your turn. I'm giving up. You got me. And so I took new member classes and, whatever I could sign up for. I'm like, Sunday school, yep, fill me in, and whatever, work trips, whatever there was, I signed up for it, and it worked. What I would tell young people that had a glimpse of the church and had a glimpse of what God, of who he is, but then got away from it, I would simply tell them, come back, give it a try, come and see, because it worked for me, and I know it can work for them, because God's the center of my life, and he can be the center of your life. And it doesn't mean you have to give up a life. You actually gain a life. Because my life didn't truly start until I decided to follow Jesus. That's when my life actually started. And I know for every young person, even though they may not see it and they may not prioritize it, that once you relinquish your own power and your own control and just give God a try, that you'll never go back. You won't want to go back. A word of encouragement for the parents of Grandview, of just children in general, would be make it a priority to put God first. And you can still do all the things, you can still go live life and take vacations and all the things that you think that you may lose or that you don't have time, well, how are we going to fit God in? We're busy, we don't have time. And I would say that I was a kid once, and I didn't have anybody pushing me or prioritizing my time, and I wasn't really wanting to do that on my own or capable of doing that on my own. But I know what it's done for me at an older age. And so what I tell my own kids is that, I want what I have now for you, but you don't have to wait until you're older. You can do it now. And that's the beauty of it. If you got a glimpse of what God can do, you would want that for your kids immediately. And that's what I would charge parents with, is that a God-centered life for your child is the best position that you can put them in for success.